Welcome. Today we're jumping into a huge, fascinating idea, world heritage, and our journey is going to start in a pretty dramatic place with the incredible story of a pharaoh, a massive dam, and a global rescue mission that literally changed how we think about the past forever. So let's get right into it.
Just try to picture this. It's the 1960s in Egypt, and the giant stone face of a pharaoh, a face that has stared out over the Nile River for more than 3,000 years, is being carefully, meticulously sawn right off the side of a mountain.
So what's going on here? Is this some kind of horrible act of vandalism, an attempt to just erase history? Or could it possibly be the exact opposite? To figure that out, we need to dive into the absolutely incredible story of the temples at Abu Simbel. To really get our heads around this massive concept of World Heritage, our first stop has to be the banks of the Nile, right in the middle of a crisis that was unfolding decades ago. Okay, so here's the situation. You've got these two magnificent temples, carved straight out of the living rock by the great pharaoh Ramses II. For centuries, they were buried under sand, totally lost. But by the 20th century, they were this global symbol of ancient Egypt. The problem? A new dam was being built, and these temples were about to be completely submerged, drowned under a massive new lake forever.
And this created this epic dilemma. On one hand, you have the Aswan High Dam. For Egypt, this was a symbol of its future, of independence, of providing power and water for its people. On the other hand, you have the Abu Simbel temples, this irreplaceable link to a deep, ancient past. So you have modernization on a direct collision course with heritage. Something had to give. Faced with losing this incredible piece of history, Egypt and Sudan did something completely unheard of at the time. They turned to the rest of the world and asked for help. And the world's answer? Well, it sparked a truly revolutionary new idea.
They made their appeal to UNESCO. Now, this is an organization born from the ashes of World War II, founded on this beautiful ideal that if nations work together on things like culture, education, and science, maybe, just maybe, we can build a more peaceful world. Well, that ideal was about to get its biggest test yet.
In 1960, UNESCO's leader made this powerful statement. He wasn't just talking about Egyptian treasures. He was talking about treasures of universal value. Think about that for a second. He was saying that these temples didn't just belong to Egypt, they belonged to everyone. This was a radical, game-changing idea. It was the moment an idea was born, that some places are part of our shared global story.
And this is where we get this amazing concept of common heritage. It's the belief that for certain places that are just so incredibly special, the job of protecting them doesn't just fall to one country. Nope. It's a responsibility we all share. It's a legacy that belongs to all of humanity.
And what happened next was honestly one of the most mind-blowing engineering projects in history. 49 different countries all pitched in money, and the plan they chose was audacious. So audacious that competitors actually called it a butchering. They were going to literally saw the temples and the cliffs they were carved into over 1,000 massive blocks. Then they would lift every single one of those blocks, some weighing 30 tons, up the cliff and painstakingly put the whole thing back together perfectly. It's this exact paradox, the idea that you have to destroy something in order to save it, that Professor Darrell Roll really dives into in this course.
The spectacular success at Abu Simbel proved that it could be done, that the world could actually unite to save its shared history. And this incredible triumph lit a spark for an even bigger, more ambitious project, creating a list of treasures for the entire world.
So in 1972, this whole idea was made official with something called the World Heritage Convention. It created a formal system, a list really, to identify and protect places that have what's called outstanding universal value. It's a bit of a formal phrase, but what it really means is that a site is so important, its significance goes beyond borders. It matters to every single one of us. And you know, it all started out pretty small. Back in 1978, the very first World Heritage List was published, and it had just 12 places on it. That's it. A handful of amazing cultural and natural sites from across the globe.
But from those humble beginnings, wow. Fast forward to today, and that list has exploded. We're talking more than 1,100 sites spread across 167 countries. Clearly, the idea really caught on. It's become one of the most successful international agreements of all time.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing. This incredible global success story also came with some serious challenges. The very idea of World Heritage had to grow up a bit, to evolve so it could truly reflect the amazing diversity of our world.
Because if you looked closely at that early list, you would have seen a pretty big problem. It was very European. It was packed with cathedrals, castles, and historic old towns. And critics rightly started to ask, hey, is that all that counts as heritage? It seemed to be favoring big, monumental buildings and overlooking other kinds of history.
The good news is UNESCO listened. And over the years, they've worked really hard to fix this. They introduced new ideas, like cultural landscapes, to recognize places where nature and humanity have shaped each other. They launched a global strategy to actively search for important sites in underrepresented parts of the world. And, this is so important, they created a whole separate system for what's called intangible heritage. The living stuff, like traditions, songs, skills, all the things that truly define a culture.
Okay, so we've gone all the way from a pharaoh being sawn into pieces to a global list with over 1,000 amazing places on it. But let's bring this all back home. What does this huge idea of world heritage actually mean for you and me right now?
Because here's the thing. Heritage isn't just something out there in a faraway country. It is all around us. It's your family's old photos and the stories your grandparents tell. It's that quirky old building in your town or a historic battlefield. Heck, it can even be graffiti, abandoned factories, or even a weird car graveyard. Heritage operates at every single level, from the most personal things to the globally famous.
And this brings us right back to where we started, with Abu Simbel. The past is everywhere, but it's not guaranteed to stick around. It's not permanent. And that incredible rescue story is the ultimate reminder that we, as individuals, as communities, as a world, are constantly making choices about which parts of the past we think are important enough to carry with us into the future. And that, right there, is the big, fascinating, and incredibly tricky question. We know we can't save everything, so how do we choose? What makes something worth keeping? Those are the very questions we're going to explore together in the rest of this course, and I really hope you'll join us for the journey.